somebody said to me about, I don't know how long ago, a couple of months ago, saying, "Oh yeah, the podcast is called Take It EV, but you just have serious interviews with people. There's no jokes. There's nothing funny. Like, just talk to somebody funny." And then I remember you mentioned on Twitter, it's like, "Oh yeah, I'll be free, after whatever. Just send me an email." So I was like, I'll email Matt. Like, why not? And here we are. I have no agenda for this. I wanted to talk to somebody like yourself.
Well, I have an agenda.
Go on then.
So I'm currently driving around a 2016 Corolla. And I always said that I wanted my next car to be an EV car. Because we have a big minivan for big road trips and stuff. And so, the only thing that's always held me back from buying an EV in the past, well, two things. One was money. And two, I go to LA and California a lot. I typically do 4-hour drives, over 300 miles kind of thing. And so, basically, like, how do I even approach now? I feel like so many companies now have EV cars. So many of them have different ranges. Some of them range in quality. Like, how do I even approach trying to buy an EV vehicle?
As you can tell by my accent, I don't live in the US. Let me just check. You said 300 something miles. I'm gonna do a quick check. Las Vegas to Los Angeles. It says it's 269 miles, 4 hours and 24 minutes, which sounds like a lot of time. So I live in the UK, and the 270 miles is a lot of driving in this country or in Europe in general. But in the US, I presume it's like you just do that because you need to go somewhere.
We do it all the time. I mean, yeah. There's just even Las Vegas. I live in Las Vegas, right? And so Las Vegas to LA, like, we are, so much of our tourism is dictated by Los Angeles. We're basically just like a kind of vacation or getaway outlet. And yeah, people just constantly just kind of spur the moment, hop in their cars and drive here. And so, yeah, that happens a lot. And a lot of people with the work from home thing that happened here, a lot of people moved here for cost of living. And then they still have to maybe go one day to the office here, one day to the office there. And it's still economically cheaper to just drive from here into the office a couple of days and still live in Las Vegas. So it's a weird, it is a weird dynamic because it is kind of far away. It's the equivalent of driving from like New York City to Boston.
Okay. Again, I have no comparison, but my US listeners would probably be like nodding along. It's like, yeah, I know. When you drive from Las Vegas to LA and back, do you drive along the route 15?
Yes, that's the main route.
I'm just kind of looking at the map currently. There's a place called ZZYZX.
Zizix.
Blimey.
It's pronounced Zizix, even though it's not spelled Zizix. And it was a guy originally, he found like a spring there and he wanted to make it some like holistic getaway spring. And he named it Zizix because he wanted to be like the last thing you'd see in the alphabet. If you listed towns or cities alphabetically, he wanted Zizix to be last. And I believe he's even unsuccessful at that. His spa was unsuccessful. His spring dried up. And then I don't even think it's the way it's spelled that makes it the last alphabetically. So it's a big miss all across the board. But yes, one of the first exits as you leave the Nevada desert into the California desert, there's a stop for Zizix Road.
It's like, hey, AI assistant, define American.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally, American dream.
Exactly. Sorry, I literally just looked at there's a website called plugshare.com, which it's an American-based company, and they basically, if you go to that, you can see all the chargers all over the world, but in the US.
Yeah, there's been a remarkable uptick in charging stations all around Las Vegas, and then along the route between LA and Las Vegas, you do see a lot of Teslas and other EV vehicles now on the highway doing that drive.
Yeah, I mean, so the any sort of modern EV that's been out in the last couple of years will do that route with one stop. Because obviously, just like in a gas car, if you jump in and drive till it's empty, then you're going to be stranded, right? So you do have to stop, and I presume when you're doing that route, you're stopping along the way anyway because it's a long drive.
Yeah.
You do need at least a bathroom break. So so I think any EV will do it as long as it can do over 200 miles as stated on the spec sheet, so to speak. Probably Tesla is the obvious choice. I'm sure there's a reason why there's so many Teslas. But on the other hand, when you go at a peak time, the Tesla's chargers are going to be super busy.
Well, there's a big groundswell right now to not get a Tesla, just culturally speaking.
I can fully understand that.
Regardless of taste in technology or whatever, it is basically Elon Musk has become such a polarizing figure that it's funny. Like friends of mine who live in like richer neighborhoods, it feels like an episode of Black Mirror where you just see white Teslas driving everywhere. But now they're all changing them in for different companies' EV vehicles because no one wants to be driving around with a Tesla now with the way Elon Musk has been in the press and stuff. It's been a fascinating thing when you're a very rich person and you're doing a keep up with the Joneses mentality on Teslas or on anything. When you have the means, you can just switch vehicles. I can't even afford one, but we'll see. I mean, right now, the average electric vehicle is still about 20,000 more than what would be the average equivalent to a gas-powered vehicle here in the States. Our government has helped by giving a $7,500 tax credit rebate. So if you buy one, you can write that off on your taxes for the year, which has created a big incentive for a lot of people. But it still seems crazy.
Yeah, I think if there's one downside of the EVs is the cost, but at the same time, especially I think in places like US, the savings that you have, because I think you live in Las Vegas, you probably have solar panels on your house anyway, and on day-to-day basis you probably drive less than 100 miles anyway, right? I would guess, unless you're going to somewhere like Las Vegas.
I spend about $80 to $100 in gas a month.
Okay,
so that'll add up a little bit there. Plus, all the other stuff that happens when you have a car. Oil changes are usually like $100, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All the maintenance that you don't necessarily need to do that on the EV. I mean, there's no oil to be changed. But so if you think about it, yes, the car might be 20 grand more expensive, but day to day, you're going to charge it from solar, presumably. I don't know how much you're driving around and doing things during the day, but I'm sure there's like time of day tariffs, they call them in the UK. I don't know what they're called in the US, where you have different rate at night and different rate during the day, and it's usually much cheaper.
They haven't done that yet here in Nevada. There's talk of it, but they haven't done it yet. It is fascinating.
Because I presume there's solar is obviously quite popular, but I'm sure there's loads of hydro energy as well, right?
There is, and I also imagine there isn't that much of a difference in drawing electricity, only because during the day, every place is pumping air conditioning out here in Las Vegas every day. So I imagine when the temperature goes down at night, people plug in their cars. I can't imagine it being significantly different.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is kind of we're getting away from the subject, but I'm just let's just talk about this. Like,
I'm trying to convince you to buy me a car. Is what's happening. So yeah, let's just try to stay focused.
Well, I'm going to ask my 6 patrons to chip in.
There we go. It's a butterfly flaps its wings. You know what I mean?
One of them might do it. I shouldn't disclose who my patrons are, but I've got listeners who work for major motor companies. Well, one that I know of.
Well, let's pitch them in. A friend of mine worked for Rivian.
Okay.
And those cars look really cool. Those trucks look really cool. But then I looked in the prices and it's like buying like 3 cars.
Exactly. And also trying to get one is tricky. The waiting lists, are just massive because it's a little. I mean, little compared to like Ford or GM. It's a tiny startup, so they only have one factory somewhere in the US, and they're churning them as quickly as they can. But I mean, that brings me very swiftly around back to Tesla. Tesla. The reason why lots of people are still buying Teslas is because you can go to a Tesla website and just order one now and get one in a couple of days or weeks. Whereas if you ordered something different, you might need to wait 6-7 months. It's just one of those things.
Slowly but surely, like for instance, like I always loved like when always loved driving around like a Jeep, but then like there's just so gas inefficient and so whatever, but they're just not great aerodynamically and environmentally, right? But I was like, if they're electric, I will care less about that, like if I want like these cool shapes. And then I was like, you look at all these classic cars, wouldn't it be so cool that they used to get like 8 miles to the gallon or whatever? We're compared to today where we average like 30 miles a gallon. It would be so cool to like be driving around like those older, cooler cars, but they're electric, so you don't have to feel bad about it. So I feel like that era is coming, but we're still like years away from that, right? Although I think I can get an electric Jeep now, but they're really expensive.
There's in the US, there's some cars that have been made just for the California market, which are basically our compliance cars. The California board of whatever basically mandated that you can sell your gas cars in our country or in our state as long as you made a couple % of them electric. So there's some unique cars that people generally say not to buy them because they're not made to be cars that you keep on for 10 years. Servicing might be hard, basically, outside of California.
Like fast fashion, but for cars.
Yeah. I think there's going to be more and more choice now. There's OEMs like GM kind of turning around and saying, okay, we're going to actually make loads of EVs. I still think for US, Tesla is a viable choice as long as you put a sticker on it saying, I bought the car because I like the car, not because I like Elon or something like that. So in the world of unlike something like a phone with iPhone, the car is much more complex, much more of a complex beast, and also you have all these OEMs who are used to making cars in a specific way, and then in came Tesla, who made it differently. They had a clean slate, right? They had nothing to lose because it's a startup. They can just do whatever they want, and they made it completely different to what the other dozens of companies would make it. And if you imagine something like GM or Ford, it's very hard for them to just turn around and say, let's just change everything today, like pivot, instantly. And they've been trying to turn those massive ships around for months, but they're all still trying to chase the way Tesla makes cars. Even things like margins on the product is something that they can still dream. I think Tesla is like way above 10%, and any OEM is under 10%. And that's a huge amount of money on cars. There's things like with electric cars, you have to obviously make the batteries, and the very smart thing that Tesla did from the get-go was having the Gigafactory, or I think they have multiple now in multiple suppliers. But making batteries for your car is like a number one step. You need a motor, inverter, and a battery, right? So, and the battery is the biggest capital expense on the car, on the electric car. And I think this is where other OEMs are still struggling to deliver in time because they don't have the supply of the battery modules. So, this is obviously changing. Like, there's a lot of investment and stuff, but this takes time. So it's hard to pick a car, and say just go for it today. I mean, I want people to drive electric cars. I mean, being greener is one of the reasons, but I think they're just way better cars. Like, if I don't know about yourself, but I hate like being in loud spaces, and I just generally hate a loud noise that I can't control. It kind of irritates me, and having a perspective of sitting in a car for a couple of hours that makes a lot of noise.
I like my engine to really rev up, make a lot of noise that everyone goes like, "Oh my gosh, that person must have a large penis."
Yes, what a lovely guy. I'm sure he's amazing.
Yeah, I make a
His
lot
wo-
of noise peeling out at a green light so that I can increase my mating potential. You know what I mean?
I think that's what everybody thinks, isn't it? Like, let's be.
No, the quietness thing is a really cool thing. Anytime I'm in one, it is remarkably quiet and lovely.
And but the other reason is, I love the fact that they accelerate instantly. I don't have to. I mean, in the US, you guys don't have to worry about manual gearboxes much because the culture is different. Yeah, but manuals are kind of a norm in Europe, and when I was younger, I thought, oh yeah, that's cool because you're in control and you can do everything you want. But it turns out that actually scientifically, having an automatic thing that can change the gearboxes for you is actually better. It's easier to drive, and and it's actually faster change.
I remember one time someone put me on the like they took a back road. They're like, "You want to see something?" And it was basically took their high end Tesla from like 0 to 100 miles an hour on this back road, and it was jarring because we're used to gear shifts. You know, like for something to go, you're used to hearing or feeling some kind of like bump bump, some kind of little something as it bumps up gears, but to just actually go from 0 to 100 in one fluid movement, it was so disconcerting. It made me feel so anxious. It was so strange.
Yeah, it's way too quiet to have that much power, basically, right? Yeah, I know what you mean. I had a good time driving Model S a couple of years ago, performance model. When I literally I felt like I blacked out when I pressed the accelerator. I stepped on it and it just basically I was like, ooh, okay, we're here already. Thanks. But it's very addictive as well. Like when you overtake. I don't know whether you want to go there or not, but I have a problem sometimes with road rage. I get very angry at drivers, and I think there is going to be a subset of accidents, quote unquote, of road rage or instances of road rage where an EV driver enraged somebody in a gas car, and the gas car driver has been trying to get back at them, and it resulted in some not so funny thing. I saw a video a year or two ago from Norway. Norway is one of those countries in Europe where they actually have loads of electric cars. The government decided basically to massively push for electric cars, so it's there's loads of them on the road. And somebody was showing traffic lights, going green, and then a row of EVs basically taking off, silently, um, off into the distance, and then the gas cars just kind of following them like half a second later. It was quite hilarious. It's just one of those things, one of the surreal, things that if you think about it, yes, that's right. But unless you see it, you just can't think about it, if you know what I mean. And I do wonder, I know you live in Las Vegas. It's one of those places known for people being funny at the traffic lights and driving fast. So I do wonder.
That's the most polite way anyone's referred to people in Las Vegas. But yes, what you said is correct.
I do wonder if once you see loads of Teslas, whether that actually happens there as well. So picking a car is one thing. So the when you think about picking a car in the US, you have to think about charging network, right? Just circling it back. So you have the other great thing about Teslas. I'm just trying to sell Teslas here very, very, very much. Don't know why, but the other great thing that they thought about from the get go again is the charging network. The fact that you can just turn up somewhere and plug in the car and not having to think about. I don't know if you know anybody who actually uses public charging points in a non-Tesla car, but it is a fuff sometimes having to either have an app on the phone that enables the charging or having to wave some magical card on the charger itself to enable the charge.
I don't know anything about that. I'm sure your listeners do, but I don't. You have to do all kinds of weird stuff just to get a charger to work on your car?
It's one of those weird things where I don't know who thought it's a good idea that that you're approaching a charging unit. Kind of like if you think about a gas pump, you park a car, you open the flap, you put the thing in, but then you have to pay for it, right? It's all about money, right? At the end of the day, and with I think most of non-Tesla chargers, you do have to have some means of saying, okay, here's my money. And you would think that because it's money, people will make this process as frictionless as possible. But you'd be wrong. For some reason, some companies that provide those chargers either want you to have an app. Again, I don't live in the US, so I might be wrong about this. Or they want you to have like a card.
I mean, what's haunting me is bringing me back to Zizix. There's just nothing out there. I encourage the listeners, go ahead and Google map that action. And so if they put charging stations out there, I can't imagine there's good cell phone service out there, or let alone internet out there. So I'd be so worried about that. All right, if you're relying on that to charge.
Yeah. So there's a couple of chargers in a place called Baker, which is just close to Zizix.
Oh yeah.
Seems like a halfway point.
It's interesting. You bring that up. Baker was a town that basically thrived as a gas station town between the 2 points, between Las Vegas and Los Angeles. And you got a big town, Barstow's the next big town up, and that kind of stuff. And it was interesting because when I moved here in 2008, it was very similar to like the movie Cars, where like the town, like no one stops in that town anymore. And so you saw restaurants closing left and right. When you pulled into the town, it was really like dilapidated with like half of their stores closed and things like that. And what the electronic vehicles happened now is all of these, you're seeing expansions of all these buildings and all this revitalization of the retail spaces around there. And the town is now like thriving and looks totally alive again now in 2023. And it's because of charging stations for electric vehicles.
Interesting. So looking on the map, they even have an airport. I suppose that's not unusual in the US. There's 3 different points, and
it only takes electric planes. Electric planes can only fly.
You wish. I mean, I have a pilot's license, and I would love to be able to fly electric airplanes more.
As an entertainer, I fly a lot, and gosh, you try to like keep your carbon footprint down, and then what your carbon footprint is once you take a flight is just like, oh gosh, it's like why bother recycling for years and years? And as soon as I get in the plane, I've wiped out the good I've done for the planet.
I agree. I mean, especially in the US, when you have distances so vast, you're not going to drive everywhere, even if you have the EV.
Well, that is why I'm excited for it and why I'm here on your show. It's why I am excited for my Foolers Live tour, which is touring the United States in the fall. If you go to foolerslive.com, you can check out the dates where I join 3 other magicians handpicked by Penn and Teller to perform both original material and Penn and Teller tricks that go across the country. We aren't flying. We're taking a giant bus. I don't think it's an electric bus, but at least I'm not flying from space to space. We're driving like an old style bus and truck tour. And cool. I'm very excited about that. So, and if you're not an American listener, sign up for the email anyway. And then they'll say, oh my gosh, we have all these UK people checking out our tour. Maybe we should tour in the UK. Because I would love to bring this show, or my show, I'd love to perform in the UK and England and everywhere else. So do it, please. There. That's my pitch.
That was a very smooth plug.
I said pitch. I said please. I said please.
So as you're saying that, I'm just checking out the. Gosh, I do know some people who drive electric in the US, but I wish I could just call them now and ask them. But so one of the sort of the other stations or networks, sorry, kind of not competing with Teslas, but it's just
also growing, experiencing a growth market, showing ambition in the space.
Exactly. It's a network for non-Tesla cars, basically. It's called Electrify America.
That sounds frightening. That's a bad meeting. That's a bad meeting. We're like, Electrify America? Yes, adjourned. And someone's like, wait, doesn't it sound like we're trying to electrocute every American?
So trust me, some of the names that people come up with are just hilarious. They have 12 stations at Baker. I mean, I'm looking at the map of Baker and all the electric car chargers. So there's 3 spots, and each one of them seems to have like 12 or more points.
Oh, wow. And those Electrify America stations are not Tesla chargers. They work on like GM cars and things like that.
Yeah, they'll work on other cars. So some other cars, like I think Ford has it, do allow you to do what's called a plug and charge, which is you just literally like the name suggests, you plug in the car and it does the rest. Obviously, you have to set it up somewhere and all that jazz. But it works most of the time. This is the problem. Like if you're a guy, well, if you're somebody who's not patient and happy to sometimes stop for longer because something didn't work, the electric cars might be a bit daunting. But you're a smart guy. I'm sure you can figure this out.
Anyone who ever says you're a smart guy, I'm sure you can figure it out, is usually telling that person that they're effed. That's usually what happens.
Nah.
You're a smart guy. You can figure it out. Door slam.
I think that's the difference between American English and British English. We usually, when we say, you're a smart guy, we usually mean it.
That's true. It's always sarcastic in America. You're a smart guy. Good luck.
Yeah. Or I have no idea what it does, but you're a smart guy. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just trying to be truthful with you. It's still an up and like what's the word I'm looking for?
So far, your top option is Tesla with stickers, right? That's what you're telling me. No matter what's going on right now, I'm probably a good, what would you say, 3 years away, 4 years away from getting everything I want out of a Tesla in a different style vehicle? What do you think?
Well, so can you rent an EV? Can you just like say,
I bet now you can. I bet you they rent EVs now.
Yeah, because I know I know that again Teslas are quite they should be available in what's the like a global car rental place with green colors in the logo.
Yeah. No, we have all that. Vegas is a gigantic car rental.
Yeah, so what I did when I started driving EVs, which I'm actually. Yeah, I spoke to somebody from Who's Scoops recently about this. They had me on, believe it or not. I just,
do they regret it? Is the question. Do they regret it?
We'll see if it comes out. I think that'll be the ultimate answer to that question. But I waffled on about my journey there for a while. But what I did basically is I went to a couple of garages, as we call them here, car places, and I said, "Do you have one available now, so I can just go in and test one?" And if they said yes, then the next question will be, "Can I get one for a couple of days?" And there was only one car that actually ticked those boxes, which was Nissan Leaf. You might have seen it.
Oh, yeah.
I probably wouldn't recommend that car now. This was in 2015, so obviously it was a while ago. I wouldn't recommend that car now for various reasons. But if you can go to a rental place and be like, "Can I just have one for a couple of days?" and you have a non-stressful day for, which I know is hard when you have 2 kids and things to do. But if you can pick a trip there's no pressure for you to arrive on time. Let's just put it that way, and just play with things. That's what I would highly recommend, because everybody's different, and yes, there's loads of people having EVs, which to me, I mean, yeah, to me, I always say to people, look, if somebody else does stuff, that generally means that you can do it as well. Those are caveats, obviously, apply, but that's generally true, right? When you
that's how I felt about becoming a day cook at a bar. At first, I was very intimidated about it, and I was like, "Wait, I know plenty of people who become cooks at flipping burgers. I can't be afraid of it." It's literally the expression for not going to college is like, "Oh, you end up flipping burgers." But then the prospect of actually cooking food for other humans was quite intimidating to me when I was 21 years old. But then, yeah, I was like, wait, this is literally the thing where they just tell you.
Exactly. Or one day you're like, I want to be a magician.
Yeah, right. Exactly. If you want to go from not knowing what magic is to touring in a magic show in 5 years, you can do it. Anyone can do it.
But my point is, there's people driving EVs, and I'm sure you know some people who drive EVs who are not very technically savvy. Let's put it that way, and they're doing okay. I'm sure there must be one or two people who you know, and
yeah, I'm not intimidated by it. I'm just ignorant to it. Like, I basically feel like I'm going to start to deep dive after this. You were my first attempt to deep diving, but you seem like you really don't want to express hard opinions. So that's okay. You're just telling me that you're trying to tell me there's a way. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, if I lived in the US and I had US centric experience, I would just walk you through it. But from what I hear from people that I know who have successfully been driving electric cars in the US, is you've got either the Tesla choice, or any other car. It might be slightly more difficult, but you might be fine. And I mean, let's be honest. If you lived somewhere like Tennessee or Wyoming, or some sort of a place where there's like 10 people living, there's going to be a harder. It's going to be a harder task.
Apologies to our Tennessee listeners. I'm just very popular in the state.
I don't know. I probably don't have anybody listening there.
No. Every place has its rural areas. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Every place has its place where you don't have a ton of resources, or they haven't, whatever. The electric grid isn't going to spend a lot of time and money to put charging stations out there. But I live in a place where I do probably have all the chargers I need, no matter what kind of car I get, are probably around town at the very least. And then, I basically drive to LA and I drive to Utah, and I'm sure there are charging stations between Vegas and Utah, Salt Lake City, just like there are.
Yeah. So you have Baker, you have Barstow, outlets at Barstow, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Route 66 museum, and then just before the Los Angeles, you've got, oh blimey, there's like dozens of choices. Victorville, yes, yeah. So put it this way: if I said, "Hey, SAI, give me a route that's the most privileged when it comes to charging points," Route 15 probably would have come up very, very close to the top, if not one of the top. But obviously, that's just an example that you've given. The other, so when you drive EVs, vast majority of the time you're just going to plug in at home, and people often ask me, how long does it take to charge? And I'm like, about 10 seconds, because you just literally plug it in, walk away, and then you wake up in the morning or next day, get back to the car, and it's generally fully charged. Yeah, and that's all the time. All you have to work on is basically having the habit of plugging in. That's like the first thing you need to learn, is just to be able to just have a tick. Even if I don't need it, I'll plug in, because and the other times when you need to charge is obviously these fast chargers, and that generally takes 30, 40 minutes, which in my case is usually enough for me to go to the loo and grab something to drink and eat, and then you sit for 20 minutes in the car just kind of relaxing, and then you drive off. I always tell people, plug in more often than you think you need, because you kind of want to oscillate in the middle area of the charge. But anyway, where I was going with this is, that fast chargers are easy. Like, they're because they're so quick, you don't think about it. The other kind of I don't know what to call it. I'm not good with words. But the golden thing, or like a rule about driving electric cars, is when you go somewhere for half a day, couple of hours, find a spot that has one of those smaller chargers, kind of like the one at home, where you can just plug in the car and leave it, trickle charging. They call them usually, I mean, the industry term is destination charging. But the idea is that you drive somewhere like Los Angeles, you're going to be there for however long. You're not going to drive around the city all the time, right? Although I've heard it's a driver's city, so I don't know. But you might be going somewhere like the beach or whatever for quite a few hours, or staying in a hotel overnight. And in those cases, you just want to plug it in, and again, you wake up in the morning and the car is fully charged, or topped up to 80% or whatever. That makes your life way, way easier, basically, if you follow those principles. Yeah, does that make it? Well, because I know I was trying not to sell you the electric cars initially, but I'm just giving you the tips that.
I'm gonna get one. I want to get one. I just got to figure out the timing of which one to get and when. And so, yeah, this feels good. I think we can wrap up here. I feel good. I feel empowered to do it. I feel like I'm edging towards buying. I want to buy my next car. That car I currently have has over 100,000 miles on it, and it's from 2016. So it's time. Time's fast approaching, and so I really want to make my next vehicle an EV. So this was very helpful. Thank you.
I mean, do you normally lease cars or just buy them?
Buy them, make payments, finance.
Again, well, I don't know what the market is in the US for those things, but
I'll find an American who can help me. I'm starting my international inputs, and then I'll slowly lasso it into the United States.
I mean, these cars work the same way everywhere, in principle, anyway, right? Cool. I mean, hopefully we can have you back at some point and give us an update.
Yeah,
but I'm always happy to help.
I appreciate it.
Any other points you want to bring up? Anything else to talk about?
Please drive your electric car to one of the shows that are on the Foolish Live tour. Foolish Live, between September and October in the United States.
And please beg, the producers to bring it to the UK, because I would love to see it in the UK. But
yeah, if one of your rich patrons was going to buy me a car instead wants to bring the show to the UK, I get it. That's fine. Wherever you want to spend your money, that's okay with me.
Cool. I have to agree. There's not much else I can say. Cool, Matt. I hope this kind of helped and didn't scare you.
It did.
If you have any other questions, let me know. And like Matt said, just check out his website, or the Fullest Tool website. I'll put a link in the description. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.